This conversation was recorded just 1 week before Dr. Larry Grogan stood on the starting line in New Jersey on March 24, 2026, preparing to attempt what many believed was impossible: 100 marathons in 100 consecutive days. Today, 86 days and 86 marathons later, Larry is about to cross the finish line in Calabasas, California on July 1st, greeted by family, friends, and supporters cheering his now famous rallying cry, "Run, Larry, run." This isn't just a story about running. It's proof that movement is medicine, the human spirit is stronger than fear, and it's never too late to redefine what's possible. Donation link can be found in his bio on Instagram at RunLarryRun26.
This is Men Talk 2, powered by purpose and real conversation. Today, we journey into men's health and the fight against Parkinson's disease.
Welcome to Men Talk 2. I'm David Krieff, and today we're joined by two remarkable leaders, actually three remarkable leaders in health, fitness, and overcoming serious challenges. First, a man who is literally running for hope. He lives with Parkinson's, yet he's a powerful example of thriving through movement and mindset. He runs marathons and is about to embark on an unbelievable journey to run 100 marathons in 100 days to raise awareness and funds for a cure for Parkinson's. Please welcome Larry Grogan, Jill Turner, and Robert Pope.
Welcome, everybody. We really appreciate you being here on this special episode. And hey, Larry, why don't you tell us about your current health journey with Parkinson's and why your Run, Larry, Run approach really matters so much to you?
Well, to say it in simple terms, movement and exercise is medicine. And as a chiropractor and acupuncturist for, I think it's 45 years, when I was diagnosed with Parkinson's 6 years ago, I gravitated towards what would be the ways to naturally heal and live with Parkinson's happily and healthfully as much as can be. And I've discovered that running is a part of that solution. As I have a pretty active lifestyle. I cycle, I bicycle, I swim, I run, I weightlift, I play pickleball, and I sleep.
How do you combine these, Larry? And what is the formula that makes you so confident that you could do 100 marathons in 100 days? And what inspired you to this extraordinary goal?
Well, Terry Fox, back in 1981, was a 18-year-old Canadian and had bone cancer, had a metastatic bone cancer. Yeah. And he embarked upon a similar run across the Canadian country from northeastern Canada to British Columbia. And unfortunately, at about I think it was 2,800, he was a few hundred miles from the finish, he developed a cough and ultimately died with lung cancer. Oh, wow. But he was running to raise money in honor of the children that had met in the cancer wards in Canada. And since that time, he was actually running more than 100 marathons across the Canadian countryside. And since that time, since 1981, they've raised literally billions of dollars to help with pediatric cancer research. And so I guess I was inspired by Terry, who was a beautiful man. I had the privilege of meeting him back in 1980, and he was quite an inspiration.
Well, that's great to hear. Robert, you are a chiropractor and a transitional coach along with Jill. From a chiropractic level, since both you and Larry are chiropractors, what is your take on this sort of phenomenal idea? Now, Larry has done probably 100 marathons already. Is that right, Larry? Something like this.
Probably 400.
400 already.
And triathlons.
What's your take on this, guys?
Well, for someone who's trained and dedicated to that, that's still an amazing feat. And to put the kind of wear and tear on the body at the same time, recognizing from another perspective that the exercise is building and promoting mobility and brain and body function coordinations. And I think it's extraordinary.
Yeah,
You can take that on.
yeah, it really just it's a very inspiring, Larry, that you're doing this. You know, I don't know if how many people really understand, you know, the challenges of having Parkinson's. Our perception might be that this almost is an impossible task, but I think your mission is really about movement and the health benefits of always staying active.
Yeah, that's certainly true. And at this point in time, when we ask what keeps me moving, it's the letters that I'm getting from all around the world from people with Parkinson's, caretakers of Parkinson's patients, and other neurological diseases, and they're so inspired by it that I feel sort of a wind beneath my wings to do it, knowing that it was said by a good friend that I'm running for those that think they can't. And it's not about that I'm doing a remarkable feat, but more a matter of that we're all capable of doing much more than we realize.
And Jill and Robert, don't you feel that this kind of, I'd call it mind over matter kind of approach is really something that we could all learn from, and be inspired by, really? I mean, the task seems so overwhelming, but it's not when you listen to Larry. He's been able to do this, and he's very confident he can do this now.
Is it more of an endurance of physical versus mental for you, Larry?
Well, I did my first 24-hour race on a 1-mile loop many years ago, and I think it was about 2 in the morning, about 17 hours into the run, that a fellow runner who was much more experienced than I said, you know, it's 98% mental and the other 2% is in your head.
Robert and Jill, what are your thoughts as you're listening to this kind of enormous mission and challenge?
One phrase: the body follows the mind. When the mind is clear and not conflicted and strong, it can do miraculous things.
Definitely. I've had the personal experience in my small way of choosing not to go for chemotherapy and any kind of radical surgery when I've had cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And both times I completely cured myself with my mindset and with just a few simple practices. Not that I would want to endorse other people for not getting medical care, but
Sure.
for me, I knew I could. And so I had that in my mind through the whole process, that I was already cured as I was moving through the process.
Is this something both of you have had since you're kids, this motivation of mind over matter? Did you learn it? Is it something that people can learn? Larry and Robert and Jill?
He obviously is already living it, and that's astounding. The truth is, anyone can do it. It's just overcoming all the limitations we place on ourselves, or that we believe in that others have placed on us.
You know, Larry, I have a question. Sorry. That when you first found, go ahead. Finish. Go ahead, Jill.
These misbeliefs, let's put it that way, misunderstandings, misbeliefs that we hold as true, get in the way of our living a full life, get in the way of our overcoming obstacles, or even looking at them, not that what you are dealing with isn't a big obstacle. I'm not diminishing that in any way, but the mindset I had was, when I was first diagnosed, was, oh, how interesting.
That was your
challenge. I never actually got upset about it. I just thought, wow, I get to prove something to myself now.
Yeah, Jill, that's what I was going to ask Larry, exactly that. So when you first found out that you had Parkinson's, was there kind of something that you had to, a realization that you had to come to, Larry? Okay, I have this disease. How am I going to beat it? And then how are you going to inspire others? What led you to where you are today, from first hearing the diagnosis and now being an inspiration to people that have Parkinson's?
Well, I would say a piece of the puzzle is that I still wake up some days and say, I wonder if this is a dream and maybe this isn't really happening. But when I come back to reality and understand that it is, I actually accepted that this is about with the Parkinson's. It's not like cancer where you overcome it. You know, despite the array of snake oil that comes my way on a daily basis, I think it's safe to say that Parkinson's is a progressive disease and you learn to live with it. I muscled my way through so many issues and things in my life prior to the Parkinson's. I remember I was sitting in a therapist's office and I said, I guess what I have to learn is how not to muscle my way through this and beat it, but learn how to live with it peacefully. And it's been a large life lesson for me. I'm not beating anything. I'm learning how to live.
What is I'm really curious. What is the mission behind Run Larry Run and Strides for Humanity? In your own words, Larry, what does this organization do?
What it represents to me is having been a chiropractor and treated a lot of Parkinson's patients because they kind of sought me out being a Parkinson's patient myself. I recognize that the exercise, which was already a critical part of my lifestyle, it was part of what made me tick and made me enjoy waking up in the morning to do things that other people thought was crazy, but I gravitated towards it. And I recognize that patients struggle more so as Parkinson's patients with not wanting to exercise, which is a strange paradox because it's the most important thing that they do. So when you ask what I hope to accomplish with this, I hope to inspire and wake up millions of people with Parkinson's, without Parkinson's, to move and to exercise and to be alive. I remember there was a chiropractic professor that said the difference between death and life is movement. And movement could be the smallest thing, but what I'm getting at is that so many Parkinson's patients struggle with not wanting to exercise. It's painful at times, it's stiff, it's difficult.
Movement is medicine is really what this is all about, right?
Movement is medicine, and sometimes it's an internal movement. So, you know, you give somebody a good hug, it gets their insides moving. That's a start.
And Jill and Robert, isn't this really a part of that harmonic convergence that you guys preach and talk about? The fact that Larry could sort of overcome these physical challenges from having the right mental approach to dealing with this is maybe one of the main reasons he's thriving through this illness.
When we look at what it means to come into alignment
Yep.
harmonically, that's understanding that there is a aspect of our being that is unique to me, unique to every one of us. And when we come into alignment with that authentic being, then our energies are directed in a particular way that we're healthier and stronger and more vital. And we move into greater action because we have the opportunities to, and we have the means to. We're not in an inner conflict that is draining energy unnecessarily, putting us into patterns of stress and discomfort and avoidance types of things. So what is the harmonics is to recognize when something feels peaceful or exciting or loving or kind, joyful, that's an indication that that thought, that opportunity, that thing is actually for me, versus things that feel just, they don't feel good. You can tell they're out of harmony. They're not coherent with who and what I am, or who and what anyone is. And so being able to distinguish those things puts us in alignment. So for someone who's committed to something like you are, Larry, that inner alignment must bring you joy, must bring you it comes from a place of passion and fulfillment.
Do you feel that way, Larry? How do you feel, Larry, about that comment? That are you in alignment now that you've accepted this and you're turning it into something incredibly positive for people, and you see the reaction that people are having? Do you think you're in alignment with God or your body or everything?
I feel like I'm in alignment with other people. The notes and the letters that I get of people that are encouraged, I feel that connection with them and feel their love and support. And again, feel like I'm taking a step for them to encourage them. And again, it's just so important to not make it the Larry Grogan experience. But I'm hoping that people say, if this schlub could do this, my goodness, I guess I can move. I guess I can do anything. And that's what it's about, is discovering that inner power.
It's really the human experience that you're talking about, Larry.
Say that again?
The human experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what can men do right now, from all you guys? What can men do now to protect their brain and nervous system health? And how do you get in that mindset when you wake up and you're having difficulty moving? I know when I wake up and my back hurts, it's hard to get into the mode to take a walk or a run or lift weights or anything. How do you get into that mindset, and what are you using to protect your brain and nervous system health? Robert, Jill?
That's a big question.
It's a big question.
It's multifaceted, David. There's obviously taking care of the physical. And as we take care of the physical, that's diet, exercise, sunlight, appropriate rest, hydration, good nutrition. The emotional, mental side of it is good relationships, how we are in right relationship with the people in our lives, and our right relationship with our work and our service and our community involvement and with our friends. When we come into right relation there, then we come into right relationship with ourself. And what I mean there is we're treating ourself mentally kind. The voice in the head that is critical and condemning and judging and in a way needs to be silenced, so that we can actually start to feel that inner resonance that represents who we are in truth, not the character that we ended up being out of our conditioning as a child.
Right.
But the being that we truly are. And discovering that and operating from that naturally flows greater energy, and physicality and health and well-being just are the byproducts of that kind of alignment.
Wow, that's deep. Does the trauma that everybody seems to experience when they're a child create or affect changes in your body that, for example, Parkinson's? I mean, would that, what causes Parkinson's, Larry and everybody? I don't know.
Well, I'll give a very quick primer to say it in simple terms. The certain neurons that produce dopamine in the brain, in the substantia nigra, become gunky and eventually cut themselves off from their life support, and the nerve cells die. So when you have a patient like myself that's 6 years into diagnosis, it's safe to say that more than half of those cells have died because they were gunky and not moving freely, and they die. Interestingly enough, exercise has been the one activity that's been shown to create nerve growth, regeneration of growth, not drugs, not surgery, but exercise.
Is it lubricating? Is that what it is? Lubricating the gunky?
The gunky, the gunk makes kind of isolates those nerve cells, those nerves that produce the dopamine, and then they die. And music and smiles and hugs. And when you asked the question earlier about what we do when we have trouble moving, I think the chi following the mind, or the energy following the mind, kind of follows the context of that an open heart that's sending and receiving love is ready to be able to move and not afraid.
I like that.
And for all the childhood trauma and the things that all of us have our stories to tell, I think they're overcoming by the healing of being able to have an open heart and be able to let others hold us and us hold them.
So not to have grudges, not to have the stress of the trauma, to come to accept that. Robert, Jill, Larry, is that accurate?
I would say forgiveness
That
is
was, I
primary
second that motion.
because forgiveness frees us. When we forgive another, when we let go, when we decide we're not to be the judge of that,
Yes.
whether they ask for forgiveness or not, forgiving them releases us.
Wow.
Because you're no longer carrying that burden, right, Jill?
We're no longer carrying that burden. We no longer have that tension in our psyche. It's no longer causing a painful rift
Right.
in who we are versus how we're showing up.
How is it that
Forgiveness is an act of self-love.
how is it that there's two kids, say, in a family, and one kid has the ability to forgive, and the other kid holds a grudge, and those kids become adults, and they still have that grudge? Okay, how? So far. So there's always hope. I get that, but is there a? I know that there's all kinds of, there's Buddhism, there's all different ways, meditation, whatever, to try to come to terms with something that happened to you when you were a child. For example, loss of a parent, even not their fault. You know, like for you, Larry, I know your mother died at a very young age, and there were 3 brothers, and all 3 of you are very different personalities, and I know. For my situation with my sister, we've taken things differently. Does that result in diseases if you don't forgive and you don't let it go?
Well, for those that struggle with the forgive, and I so agree with the other panelists that forgive is cornerstone, is key to the segue to opening your heart to love and be loved. But one person said it very eloquently. She said, you can forgive, but you don't have to forget. And that allows you to maybe go part of the way towards forgiving. And it doesn't mean you're giving up with what you might be upset about or not appreciate from your past, but to be able to say, I forgive you, but I don't forget. And so I remain connected to some of the stuff that might still matter from those painful chapters in our history, but you forgive. And someone else said something beautiful about forgive, a martial arts instructor. He said, there's always forgiveness, and it's always there. You just have to find it.
Oh, I like that.
That's beautiful. Jill, Robert, do you want to unpack that?
All the work that I've done with clients around this conversation, particularly forgiveness, I think the biggest breakthrough was when I finally realized that the forgiveness that was causing the damage here was my unwillingness to forgive myself for my past. And then I learned later that forgiveness, there's 2 things. There's what's happens, and then there's our judgments or story.
Our narratives, quote unquote.
Forgiving what happened is pretty difficult because it actually isn't the thing that's causing the stress. It's the story, the judgments that we are holding about what happens. That's where forgiveness needs to be applied. If we apply the forgiveness to events and not the story, we're still stuck with the event because that doesn't go away. That's just what happens. And that's so forgiveness is much more an internal state of recognizing what I need to let go of. And forgiveness is an act of release.
So forgive and forget actually makes more sense if you think about that, the way Larry said.
It depends on what the forgetting is about. I think it's on another level, and this would be like the flip side of this. Forgiveness is an act of remembrance of who we truly are.
Right.
You're getting back to you.
Yes, and it's that idea of know thyself.
Right.
That injunction to know thyself. That's a lifelong pursuit. Understanding the inner mechanisms of how reality works and how we interact with reality and interface with reality is sometimes the biggest eye-opening experience, because all of a sudden now I have access to how to shift things internally that I didn't know before.
Do we build these narratives so that we become the winner, in our own minds, and in reality, maybe it wouldn't be that we're the winner. So do we sculpt our narratives? Do we write our own script?
Of course you do. You're the only one who can sculpt your narrative. People may share their opinions about you and share their stories about you, but you have to go into agreement with them. You have to actually buy into that. And then you live inside of whatever that story may be.
Exactly. You're in charge.
Yes, always, 100%. To distinguish the difference between a story and reality, that's a skill. That's something that can be taught and learned.
I found this conversation pretty inspiring. And in fact, Jill and Robert, the fact that, you see Larry as a living, breathing example of someone that is living in harmony with himself, trying to inspire others. Larry, I'm inspired by what you're doing. And in fact, when you run that marathon in LA, you're going to get me I'm going to be right beside you. I might be 2 miles behind you, but I will be beside you, my friend.
Elliott has decided he wants to run the race with you.
Yes, I will do that.
You made my day. You made my day, because I forget that I really do. The Parkinson's can be pretty debilitating, and there's not a day that goes by that you don't say, that's a new problem, that's a new stiff muscle, that's a new this, a new negative. But I get lost in, maybe I'm simple-minded, but when you say that, Elliott, I get lost in that moment and say, I'm so alive. I'm making a difference. I'm not done.
Right, and that's what we should all strive for, is making a difference.
Is it about the little moments, guys? I'm going to leave on this note, but is a good life about the little moments and forgiveness? Is that what I'm getting from some of this?
I think so. An open heart that's loving and loved.
And every moment can be a lifetime in the impact that it has on you and on others.
Wow.
My takeaway from this is every moment matters, and movement is medicine. And I appreciate you all joining us today on Mint Talk.
And let me leave it one more thing, Larry. Tell us how we can go stride for stride with you. I know that we have runlarryrun.com. We have stridesforhumanity.com. How can people donate and get involved with this the way we have? And how do I get to donate to the charity?
Well, that's the runlarryrun.org.
.com.
runlarryrun.com.
Correct.
Give $1, $10, $100, and please tell others about it. Tell people that you know with Parkinson's, caretakers. We want to raise people's awareness, and we want to raise money. The money is going to go to help Parkinson's patients that might not be able to get to the gym. Give them money to go take an Uber, or education as to how to exercise, gym memberships, gym clothing, athletic clothing, and we're going to raise a lot of money and help a lot of people. And maybe reach out to someone that you know that has Parkinson's and tell them you met a nut that's moving more than you. Catch up.
Yeah, you know what, Larry, is so good, and I want our audience to know this, is the 100 marathons in 100 days is really going to be in select cities. You're going to be in a select city for a few days and do the runs, and you're going to go from the East Coast to the West Coast. So people can go to the website and find out where this is happening near them, maybe come participate with you virtually or in person, and it's a great journey to follow.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. You're all wonderful, inspirational. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, everybody. Thank you very much.
This podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. I'm just a man and your friend. I'm not a licensed therapist nor a doctor, and this podcast is not intended to take the place of a physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or professional. Got it? Good. I'll see you in the next episode of Men Talk to MT2.